I'm excited to welcome Nick Beighton. Nick is a mission-led e-commerce digital business builder and leader. Guided by values, Nick is purpose-driven, passionate, and unafraid of using culture, technology, and logistics to disrupt existing thought patterns and do things in a different way. As CFO, then CEO at ASOS, Nick grew turnover to $4 billion from £200 million and transformed the e-commerce fashion landscape. Nick is the founder-trustee of the ASOS Foundation, helping raise £10 million, breaking down barriers for young people in fashion and tech. Nick is joined by Jules de Boinville, Head of UK Deployments at Scale. Julia, over to you.
Hi Nick, and welcome to TransformX, and thank you for joining us today. For our listeners, Nick is the CEO of Matches Fashion and the former CEO of ASOS.
Morning Jules, morning everyone. Delighted to be here, looking forward to the next 45 minutes or so, can't wait to get started.
Brilliant. Nick, you quite rightly describe yourself as a purpose-driven and mission-led leader. What are some of the values that are important to you as a leader and why?
The way I feel business is best done to engage and capture the right behaviours and the right values and the right intent is create an organisation that is purpose-driven. And the purpose should be the thing that brings everyone to work, the thing that brings everyone to an excitement. So purpose-driven and then mission-led. And the mission should be something that's never ever defined. It should be that oasis you're always striving for, that moment to always improve, that moment where everything's work in progress. And so with those goals that you keep on attaining, and then you go, I didn't mean that goal, I meant the next goal. And that drives a restlessness. It drives a always work in progress approach. And as a leader, I always used to say, one day I'll be a great chief exec. Until that day, I'll keep getting better. And the values I talked about within all of this, and the values I like to bring, is purpose-driven, mission-led, guided by 4 values. And the values we used at ASOS that served us really well was the first one was authentic. And that's about a human connection and a customer connection. And the authentic, the way I described it was this. We hire people for their passion, their talent, and their enthusiasm. That's all we want them to bring to work. But please bring your best self to work, because your customer deserves it, your team deserves it, and everyone around you will respond better when you bring your best self. The second one was bravery. And the phrase we used to describe there was, never be afraid to turn left when others turn right. You might just find something interesting, you might just find something different. If not, you go again. So it's kind of legitimizing curiosity. The next one was be creative. Be creative in everything you do. Be experimental. Try something different, whether you work in HR, technology, finance, or sales, or product. You can be creative around every problem you solve, every issue you want to come up with. And by asking the question, why exactly am I doing this again? And if it doesn't serve the customer, doesn't serve the team, doesn't serve the brand, doesn't serve the organization, don't do it. Try something different. And the last one was be disciplined. And discipline's an interesting one. Discipline was not meant to be death by spreadsheet or death by PowerPoint. It was designed to go legitimize the improvement that every business and every individual goes through. You might be an amazing rock band and you'll get 1 album on pure talent. You'll get 10 albums by honing your craft in a disciplined, structured way to always improve and always get better. So the discipline was always about legitimizing work in progress, legitimizing improvement, and legitimizing an endeavor to keep getting better. So those were the values I honed within the organization at ASOS. And I think that those values guide culture, guide decision making, guide behaviors, guide the way you build tech solutions, guide the way you give customer experience. So those were the things that I found really important, and they served us really well at ASOS. During that time, I took ASOS from less than 200 million annual sales to 4 billion. And those are the principles, the values, the mission and the purpose we ingrained in the organisation.
Not being afraid of turning right when everyone else is turning left, and legitimising curiosity. And Nick, in your journey from taking ASOS from a 200 million business to a 4 billion business, what are some examples of times where you were brave and turned right when everyone was turning left and it paid off?
I mean, many. Some of our best decisions of turning left and turning right were ones that we got wrong. And if you're not afraid to try something different, you'll sometimes get something wrong. So I'll start with those first of all. One time we decided we wanted to do homewares, and the team persuaded me to do homewares, and they built an amazing homeware product offer. And then when it landed in front of the customer, we just went, it doesn't work. You've got to cancel it. The team were really worried about it. I said, no, you've done exactly what we asked you to do. You've done exactly what you told us you'd do. It's just not right for us. So we gave them their bonus this year because they'd achieved what they said, even though we sold very little and we cancelled it straight away. So that was one where your values get tested. And as a leader, that's where you have to really make sure you stick to your principles, because the negative aspect of not doing something and the way you deal with it is a bigger halo over the values than anything else. A positive version was this. We never wanted to do bridal wear, and we never wanted to do bridesmaid wear, because the philosophy on that was, look, I'm not sure a bride's best day should be delivered in a box through the post or with a courier, and I'm not sure that's the right experience. I felt that was more white glove. And they then said, look, Nick, we can make amazing product for the bride. We can dress the bridesmaids, and bridesmaids are really tricky to clothe. And we can do all of that. We can do it super cheap, and we've got a really great experience. So we add a load of value to the customer. And they convinced me to do it, and this was them being brave and telling me how they could do it. My role as leader was to say, give it a go, guys. And that year, 9,000 brides walked down the aisle in an ASOS gown. So they were right, I was wrong. And they were right, and they were right to bring it with me, because I'd legitimised bravery, I'd legitimised curiosity, and my role as the leader was to be accessible, live those values, be the guardian of it, but sometimes say, give that one a go. So those two examples, negative and positive, and each are really important, because if you don't behave with those values in moments of adversity and moments of positivity, they're not real values, and the organisation calls you out.
They have to be tested. You're so right. So 200 million to 4 billion, that's a hell of a climb. Broadly speaking, what were some of the core areas of the business that you focused on to reach that transformation?
So the very first early days, it was all about and as seen on screen. And as seen on screen was, you've just seen your favourite celebrity wearing an amazing outfit, and we're going to do that at an accessible price for you. So that was the early formation of it. Then one of the early buyers came in and said, I don't mind buying all this eclectic mix of product. And at that point in time, we were buying watches, lamps, chairs, the lot. And I think we once had the entire furniture from Big Brother 4 season. And Big Brother was a reality TV program, and we bought all the furniture. And so she said, look, I don't mind buying all these things and this eclectic mix of products, but I'm super good at buying dresses. So we kind of said, you should buy some dresses then. Let's have a look at them. So that became the start of the ASOS design range. Now, we then had a moment where, as seen on screen, didn't fit the back of a label very well. So it was too long. So someone, and many people claim this decision, and it's one of those that geniuses in hindsight, often and not often in foresight. Someone said, well, let's take the first letter from as seen on screen and call it ASOS. I went, cool. So we did. That decision then created a 1.6 billion sterling brand, which at one point was the largest brand never to have a store, focused on 20-something guys and girls. So that was, as I say, geniuses in hindsight, not foresight. None of us thought that was the case. We just gave that one a go. So then it was, how do we create the ultimate wardrobe for a 20-something, where she doesn't need any other app, any other product offer, any other go-to place, because we'll have her covered. So then it was, ASOS will have you covered from going out, to working out, to going out, or just hanging out. And then if ASOS hasn't got you covered with those things, here's the best of 900 other brands. So we went, if that's the vision, the ultimate wardrobe, we need to go and acquire lots of brands. So then it was like building out the product offer. Then as we added more and more products, we realized that we needed to learn some great tech skills, and because the assortment got bigger and bigger and bigger, and the discovery of that assortment had to be better and better. And so the feedback was either, this is great, or it's too much. So we then had to start working on discovery tools, which is where we then started learning about product attribution. We then started learning about tagging products. We started learning about how we optimize discovery on the site. And at that point, we weren't spending a lot of money on digital marketing. Almost, we didn't spend anything on digital marketing until 2013. So we went, we better get really good at digital product attribution. We would get really good at SEO. We better reskin the site so our customers can see and all our great product can be surfaced. So those were big moments. So we went on that for a long time. And our principles were build the product offer, build the experience, the digital experience and the service experience, and then build and then invest in marketing. And we did it in that order. So product, proposition, experience, and then we do marketing. And then we go back to the top and do more product, more investment in proposition, and then we do a bit more marketing. And the measures along the way were, what's our conversion looking like? What's our customer satisfaction looking like? What's our returns looking like? How many customers are getting what they want every time? And we kept on building the proposition on those principles and getting better at product discovery, product attribution, and learning skills that we had no idea of when we set out on that journey.
And why was this such an important investment for you? And do you think other people in the industry were as quick to catch on?
So when we were doing this, there were very few people doing it. And when we started, and e-commerce for clothing, when I started in 2009, some people were even saying, I'm not sure clothes will ever catch on online. And so they certainly weren't investing in the digital skills. They certainly weren't investing in e-commerce. Over the last 13 years, that landscape has totally changed. And clothing will be one of the biggest categories online over the next 10 years. And so there weren't many people doing it. And so there weren't many places to go to learn a playbook. So we were learning it ourselves, going, how do we build up this discovery? What do we need to do in our product catalogues to actually find a way where a customer can get the product surfaced? How do we retag this? How do we do this? How do we mechanize doing this? So we learned those things ourselves. We spent years doing this. doing this in some manual solutions, some semi-automated solutions, because we believed it to be right, and we believed it to be a key unlock in our future growth. And over that period of time, we took our conversion rate from 2% to over 7%. And those things that I've just described, continually working on product attribution, continually on working on discovery, continuing to then free up and add more product, because every time we solved a problem, we got a better conversion rate, more sales, more effective marketing, we built more product. We then built more marketing behind it. Then we built a better attribution. Then we had to go to mobile and do it all again. Then we had to go to international websites and make sure we did it all again. So it's that continual iteration of building those attributes to maximize the discovery for our customers, which gave us the maximum conversion, the maximum satisfaction for the customer, the maximum commercial impact.
And as you were investing in AI and building out this team, what were some of the initial problems that you faced with product catalog data at ASOS?
So when we with the first AI solutions we built were around product recommendations. So this is effectively a digital curation. So Jules, you go on to the app and you press your recommendations engine, and it serves up all the product that we think you like based on your browsing history. When we started looking at that, it wasn't good enough. It wasn't pulling or serving up the right products based on your browsing history, because we hadn't got the right details in our product catalogue to make it really intuitive. We knew we were in the right area because personalisation is like the hunt for the philosopher's stone of e-commerce in retail. And personalisation at scale is probably only best done with AI. You can't personalise at scale with 26 million customers in 178 countries, going through app, mobile web. You've got to find an AI solution to create that personalisation. Our belief was, if we keep investing in it, the experience will get better, it'll get more intuitive, and the consumer and the customer will feel like the more I hang out with this brand, the more I share my preferences with them, the better the experience is. So we had to double down on making sure we got the right product attribution, the right tags everywhere, so that discovery and that recommendation engine would work best. And by doing that, it tightened up natural traffic. We started to invest in digital marketing, and that tightened up digital marketing, and it tightened up the on-site search as well as the recommendations. So that was the key unlock when we did that first piece of AI, and we realized there wasn't enough attribution or tagging in there to make it as effective as it should. So it was suboptimal. So we went again to build more tagging to make that catalog way more effective.
And what were some of the experiments around product attributes that have changed over time, and what have you learned along that journey, and what would your advice be to others who are right at the beginning of that journey?
So first of all, this goes back to one of the key values of e-commerce, and I'll also say one of the key values of running an entrepreneurial focused business. You've got to experiment. And you've got to be running a number of experiments, because if you sit in an isolated room and think about all the product tags and all the language that a customer might use to find something, you'll get it wrong. If you serve up lots of different ways of doing it and experiment with the best ones, then you will get it right, and you'll get more right than you get wrong. So you've got to be prepared to be super experimental, try different ways of doing it, different ways of gathering the data. And we did things like interviewing customers and asking them to describe a product. And some will call it a going out dress, some will call it a strappy dress, some will call it a cocktail dress, and they're all describing the same garment. And so we had to then make sure we picked up all of those to make sure we were serving it up in the right way. So this was continual iteration, continual experimentation. That's how some of the things we did. But the main concept here is be prepared to experiment. And with the experiment, be prepared to make some mistakes, but be prepared for that learning. And that's fundamental to keep on iterating and improving your solution, proposition, and business.
And with these experiments and with this general approach, how are you able to measure the business impact? Because we often refer to this as the ROAI, like the return on investment, because it can be difficult for e-commerce companies to measure this. How did you measure this when you were at ASOS?
So the first metrics we were looking at were conversion. And conversion is quite straightforward, and everyone should have conversion. But conversion is an output metric, not an input metric. But conversion was the one we looked at the most. So if 10 customers go in and you convert 2%, it means 98% of them have left without the product they want. So the thesis was, how do we maximize that conversion rate? And by doing that, we'll maximize our sales, we'll maximize our cash flow, we'll maximize the customer experience. We then moved into page views on each product. We then looked at impressions on each product. So we worked backwards from that conversion tree and built that along the way. We then added in NPS to see what the customer thought of it, which is more emotive. And then we also wrapped around ROI on digital marketing. And we called it ROMI, Return on Marketing Investment. So this was, and we originally did that over 12 months, and it was a 12-month investment horizon. Then we went, that's rubbish, because if everything in your business stays the same for 12 months, that's not a high growth, exciting business, and it's impossible that it does. So we then brought down the cadence of testing that ROI to 6 monthly, then quarterly, then monthly, and then we were running daily ROMIs on our digital marketing, which was all data driven. And then we were looking at those returns and going, why is that conversion not working on that product? So we'd go back into that product attribution and go, how is that product attribution not being served up to our customer? What do we need to change to maximize the conversion on that product and the sales on that product, and therefore the investment? So those were the iteration and the measures we used.
And why now? Why is it so critical that e-commerce companies and retail companies should be investing in product catalog data? What's the kind of urgency around it?
So the average conversion rate for most businesses with a digital experience is less than 5% for fashion. So if any company is happy with 95% of their customers leaving without buying a product, having spent all that money on attracting them through the brand marketing, their upper funnel marketing, their digital marketing, they're in a bad place. If you can then go, how do we maximize the impact of our marketing spend to optimize the experience for the customer, happy customer, optimize the experience for the business through sales and cash flow, happy business? That's why it's urgent. One of the beauties of e-commerce is the width of choice. And the width of choice is really exciting. And it's something that's unmatchable in the physical experience. But that width of choice needs strong discovery tools. And those strong discovery tools can't be effective unless you've maximized your product tagging, product attribution in the way I was describing earlier. So all of those things are super critical. And that's without me mentioning the world's got a lot tougher over the last 12 months and will continue to be tougher. So looking to optimize all your investments to maximize the customer impact, maximize the conversion impact, and therefore maximize either your digital marketing, your organic search, and maximize your cash flows has to be a big priority.
And what do you think, I guess asking a question in a different way, what do you think is keeping e-commerce companies from investing in this? Why wouldn't they? Or why aren't they?
So some of it is awareness of the tools, some of it is awareness of how to do it, and some of it is black box thinking, where they go, this is what I bought, this is what I've sold, and they've not thought through the customer impacts through their entire digital ecosystem. So a combination of all three of those. Now, my advice to people with this is unpack the box, experiment with this sort of data attribution, product attribution, catalog attribution, and see how your conversion and your digital marketing and your traffic improves. And I would call conversion in e-commerce as the eighth wonder of the world, because it compounds everything you do. It tightens up everything you do. Product directors will love it. CTOs will love it. Marketing directors will love it. It makes everything far more effective.
So Nick, now perhaps we can turn to your new role at Matches Fashion. You've been CEO for weeks, is it? Almost
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
3 weeks.
3 weeks. Congratulations on the new role. And tell us, how does it feel, first of all, going from ASOS to Matches into a more of a luxury fashion environment?
So it's an interesting experience, Jules. I've had to unpick ASOS from my psyche. It's almost like letting go of part of me that I've loved and cherished for 13 years. And I now need to fall in love with Matches in the same way I fell in love with ASOS. And so that's quite a weird process, but it's an exciting process. I've never worked in the luxury sector before. The Matches product is exquisite. The brands they work with are beautiful. But I will be focusing on purpose, mission, values for the organisation. And the purpose, mission, values should be set by the strategy. And the way you set that culture, the way you set that purpose, mission, values should sit below the strategy and should turbocharge the strategy. The digital experience, I think, can be way better at Matches. So I will be focusing on the digital experience. The digital marketing, we can get way better at too. So I'll be focusing on that as well. So those things are quite exciting for me. I'll be also, and I already have, started looking at our product attribution to think about how we can make this way more effective. And I'll be deploying some of the tools we use at scale to see how this will turbocharge some of my discovery for our customers, optimize my digital marketing, and enhance the experience in the same way. So that's the exciting journey for me. And where I want Matches to be, Matches should be the ultimate luxury experience for a fashion-loving guy and girl. Every moment of luxury in your fashion life should be served up at Matches. That's what I'm going to build, and that's quite exciting.
Okay, and I'm going to go back and ask the same question now that when we were earlier on, we were talking about business transformation and how you turned ASOS from a 200 million business to a £4 billion business. What are the areas that you're going to focus on at Matches to drive that same level of transformation?
One's going to be refresh the strategy and have a moment of luxury for every customer. That will be rental, pre-loved, as well as something new. And so that will be solving a customer problem. You make many of the best decisions by following the customer behavior and solving a problem for her or him, but also inspiring her or inspiring him. So great content, great presentation, great products, solving a problem. Like, she might just want to rent an outfit rather than a new outfit. She might want to monetize her old outfit and get a credit to go again. And the customer is ultimately savvy. She might want to go, I want this season's handbag. I've got last season's handbag. I'm going to monetize last handbag and buy the new one. And by doing that, you solve a problem for her. So it's an investment piece in the first place, and then she can monetize that one and get the latest season. So I'll be building those offers into matches. But below that, it'll not only be more circular and build more sustainability, it'll solve the problem for the customer. It's important. But I'll be doubling down on the digital experience. So I think we can get a much bigger business by improving our digital experience, by drilling down into our discovery tools, drilling down into our personalization, going right down to our product tagging and our product data attribution. That will be a huge win to turbocharge our growth.
And Nick, I know this is a topic close to both of our hearts. At ASOS, you were renowned for focusing on ethical supply chains and slavery-free supply chains. How will you bring that into your work at Matches as well?
Thank you for raising this one. You know it's something I care deeply about. If you stand back, I would say there's a number of attributes that a modern digital business or business in retail should be building into their business model. One, you've got to build agility, and agility in decision making, agility into the way your model works, agility into your processes, so you can move as fast as the customer. To achieve that, you need greater digitalization, and I don't mean a website, I don't mean an app. I mean, those are table stakes now. I mean digitalization in how you present product, how you serve product, how you procure product, how you solve customer problems, how you solve business problems. So that's really important. And you then need to have a level of financial stability, because we are all going through and headroom. We're all going to go through choppy waters. The world is a lot choppier now than it was 12 months ago. Difficult to believe, but it is and will be. So those three things are really important to survive. You then need a set of values and principles that guide what you do, how you do it, how you act. And lastly, you need a strong commitment to people, products, planet. And think about how people are looked after in the supply chain. Think about how products are prepared, are made, are shipped and packaged. And think about your net zero impact as a business. And if you're going to have principles and values like that, you've got to be prepared to be radically transparent. And if you're radically transparent, customers will trust you, your teams will trust you, stakeholders will trust you. And with those values, you don't have to be perfect now. And waiting to be perfect will take too long. Being transparent about where you are on your journey and committing to improve and be better, and then setting goals and targets that people can hold you accountable for, is absolutely the right place to be. And don't be afraid to say, I'm not very good at this now, but I'm going to get better at it. I don't like how this works, we will get better at it. So those, I think, are the 5 key principles that you need to build into every business model, particularly in retail, fashion, very applicable to e-commerce. And the way you handle those to build that trust with your team, your consumer, your stakeholders, says a lot about the organization, says a lot about the brand. And if you're prepared to do that, people want to hang out with your brand. People want to spend money with your brand. People go, I love what they're trying to do. I know they're not perfect yet, but I want to help them get better. So those are the things I think are really important. So I'll be building out greater focus on all of those things, massively including people, massively including packaging, massively including how we build our products, supply our products, working with our branded partners, and also thinking about the impact our business has on the planet.
I wonder, there must be conversations for us to have, Nick, around how scale or AI in general can help with this supply chain mapping piece. Food for thought. But in general, what are some of the macro trends that you see shaping the future of AI within the e-commerce industry?
So the digitalization part is the second principle I said. AI has got an enormous role to play in that, and AI can serve a customer faster than a human can serve a customer. And that the digitalization journey for the brands ahead has got AI as a key enabler in everything they do to achieve digitalization. From discovery, from back office processes to customer care processes, this will be a real piece of transformation in the business model, in the customer experience, that I think organizations need to have a very clear strategy and a very clear use case. And it's one of those that can feel intimidating. And you go, where do I start? And I know I need to do it. But actually, you might want to start from the customer back. And you might want to start from the customer back and go, how do I serve the customer better? So you might want to start with your product attribution and your products, cleaning up that data and using AI tools to serve your customer discovery better. That is where you'll get the best uplift. 10 basis points conversion uplift for all of us is worth a fortune. So one of those things you just got to dive in and give it a go, and then be experimental, learn, go again, learn, be iterative, go again. Many of the decisions you make around this are totally reversible. And the worst thing can happen is you improve the customer experience. So why don't we give that one a go?
And Nick, what are some of your beliefs about the future of AI in e-commerce, or just e-commerce in general, that others might disagree with you on, or that you stand alone on, or when they turn left, you turn right?
So I find this quite curious. So we are now living with the economic consequences of the pandemic, plus an energy and fuel crisis created by conflict in the Ukraine, sadly. But a lot of the economic pressures were being stored up pre-pandemic. For 2 years, we paused activity to protect people on the planet through healthcare. Restarting demand and a slower start on restarting supply and capacity was bound to create a lot of inflation. What's that seen play out in retail is consumers are flocking to stores again, and because they hadn't done it for 2 years, because that's a nice experience, and it's an experience that they've not been able to do. And digital sales and e-commerce sales look relatively muted in lots of categories. Not all categories. Luxury is still growing nicely, but lots of categories. I believe this to be an 18-month to 2-year transition. So we're seeing the consequences on people and economics of the pandemic for the previous 2 years played out for the next 2 years, of which we're 6 months into. In terms of what that will mean is that will reset itself, and e-commerce and digital commerce will continue to grow again. It'll outpace the growth of physical, and it'll end up with somewhere between 60, maybe 70% of everyone's sales. So building your business, preparing your digital experience, preparing the tools to service that will be really important. Right now, stores will be showing high growth, but as it resets itself, e-commerce will be a bigger share, particularly in retail, particularly in fashion, of the future share. So you've got to be in a position where you can maximize and capture that demand. Not everyone agrees on that. But I firmly believe that it will be somewhere between 60 and 70% digital penetration of fashion in the main markets, US, UK, Europe. Some markets in the Far East are already rapidly approaching that. So that's where I think people need to position themselves. If you're a mixed channel business now, you might be enjoying 20 to 30% digital. Your next staging post should be 50-50. And so you've got to invest in your digital experience and to position yourself for that.
So what do you see then for the future of the high street and the high street stores?
So the high streets are an amazing place. I worked in them for many years. I think they're vibrant and I think they're great. But particularly in the UK, pre-pandemic, we had way more stores per capita than, say, Germany. So we're already seeing contraction in the number of stores, Jules, and the number of stores will contract further. And as consumers reset into the profile I've just described. What I see for the future of stores, particularly in the UK and high streets, I love high streets. They're part of the British psyche, British culture, British social mobility. The answer to high streets isn't retail outlets. The answer to high streets is a mixed leisure, mixed experiential with retail, with residential, to bring back vibrancy into those stores, into those high streets. It won't be down to stores to solve it. So the number of stores on high streets will contract. It needs more residential, more experiential, more hospitality. And so high streets will be repurposed into a mixed experience for all experiences, not just shopping.
And I guess there's opportunity for a sort of a hybrid world where the digital can meet the in-person experience. I remember going to a store in New York, I think it was Reformation, where you had this incredible online shopping experience on a screen, but you were in a very small store and they could then bring things up for you to try on. It was a great kind of hybrid model.
Totally. So the stores the stores that will continue to thrive will have to find a way where the great experience that you get from the store will have to meet digital experience in the same way that we've all embraced digital experiences as consumers. So they'll have to find a way where you connect physical, digital, through your smartphones, through different discovery tools. So, and some brands are experimenting with it already. So I think that's definitely how the whole ecosystem will evolve.
Nick, thank you so much for your time. It's been a joy and an honour to interview you today, and I can't wait to see Matches Fashion become the next success story in a similar vein to ASOS, and can't wait to see what you do there. And look forward to seeing how AI is part of that journey for you as well.
Yeah, here's to achieving all of those goals, Jules. Thank you very much for your time as well.
Thanks, Nick. See you soon.
Bye.